Hi, Bob back again from AppJedi.net. Going to do an introduction to Java today. I can just do a basic Hello World application in Java. I will be doing a full lecture series on Java. I've got over 20 years experience with it, including Java web development. So we'll be going into that as well in my lecture series. This is just the first introduction. Now, the first thing with Java, let's go over to my website. You can take a look at this. It's appjedi.net, and I'm going to be working on some upgrades to this website since it's not very good. But some information on me. You can see an introduction to me on YouTube. Um, these are technologies that I have a lot of experience on, and I plan on doing lectures on YouTube. So you can review that. I've got a couple of lectures already posted on HTML, downloading XAMPP for PHP and also JSP, which is Java Server Pages, which I will be getting into that with the Java classes. Introduction to HTML Forms, and today's lecture, Introduction to Java. So to get started, if you don't already have Java installed, you're going to need to download it, install it, and you have to download what's known as the JDK or Java Developers Kit. You can go down to the download button. I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to do that. The very first one you see here is fine. It's the latest release. Um, just click download. Go down, look for your operating system. I'm running on Windows today. Click the accept license agreement. And you want to go with the EXE. I think is the best one. This has got an entire Windows setup program. Now it's going to download it. I'm in Chrome. If you're using Windows, it would be in your Windows download directory. And JDK runs on every operating system, including the Mac and Linux. Um, I am actually more of a Mac person, and I also have Ubuntu Linux, so like all of it. And I will be doing lecture series on all different operating systems, not just Windows. Okay, so now you can click and you can install it, and like I said, I've already got it installed, so I'm not going to go through this whole installation process. Um, okay, I'm just going to say it's already installed, so I'm not going to install it again. If you have any issues with installing the JDK, you can post questions to this video or go to my website. There's a contact us. It's actually contact Bob. You can ask questions. You will see on my YouTube. I also provide my email, appjedi.net@gmail. Happy to ask questions. I'm on Facebook, appjedi.net, and of course on YouTube at appjedi. So let's continue. Now, once it's downloaded, we're going to start our first Java program. I'm going to use some basic Windows tools that are built into Windows, so you don't have to worry about it. I'm going to type in CMD, which is the command prompt, and I'm going to go to a directory in my documents folder that I have all my YouTube videos. Okay, there's nothing in there right now. I just started. You want to eventually get a good editor when you're developing anything. Whether it's websites, Java programs, Python, whatever it is, you want to have a good editor. There's a lot of good ones out there. A basic one is called Notepad++, which I have. You can download. Eventually, you're going to need a full, what they call integrated development environment or IDE. Some popular ones are NetBeans and Eclipse. Today, I'm just going to use Notepad that comes with Windows, as rudimentary and bad as it is. That's what I'm going to use so that you don't have to download anything extra. Just type notepad hello.java. Okay, so here we are. Now, with Java, every a class begins with the word class, and it's a public class, so it's accessible, and then the name of the class. Now, the name of the class has to match the file name even by case. So if the file is hello.java with the H uppercase, the class name has to be hello with the H uppercase, but no .java, just hello. Curly brackets encompasses the classes. Java gets its syntax loosely from C and C++. A lot of languages use this very same syntax. It's very common. You'll also see it in JavaScript, PHP, C Sharp, a number of other languages. So for here now, in order for a Java program to be runnable, it has to have what's known as a main method. And it has to be public and what they call static. Static means that it just exists once for the entire class. And we'll get into class instantiation later. That's not a topic for today. Okay, so what we have here, main is the name of the method. Void means it's not going to return anything back to what called it. And what called it in the case of the main method is the operating system. Again, the curly brackets. String is what's known as a data type. A data type is the type of data a variable can hold. And a variable is just a name for a location in memory holding some data. In the case of string, it's very general. It can hold basically anything you can type on the keyboard can be stored in a string. The square brackets indicates that it's an array or a list of strings. And args is the name of it. More on that later. So the very basic hello world program will start with system, indicating the operating system, output to the system, and the method print, that you're going to print something out to the system. And we're just going to say hello world. And that's it. And that's all you got to do for your first basic Java program. And next would be to come back out to our command prompt and use the Java command to compile it, which is javac space filename.java. Right? Hit enter. Voila, it compiles. To run it, it's almost the same, but no C, and it's just hello without any extension. But before we do that, let's look at what got created. So from our Java source code, which is that guy right there, it compiled and created something called hello.class. Now to run it, it's almost the same, no C and no extension. So you don't have to say .class. In fact, you can't. It won't work. Just Java hello, and there you go, hello world. Now while we're at it, I'm going to go a little further. And I'm going to talk about this string array data type to show you what it really means. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace hello world, move that, and use a plus sign, args sub 0. What I'm doing here is the plus sign is overloaded. It could mean addition, like 2 plus 2 equals 4. It can also be a string concatenation, where it combines two strings together. Args is a string. It's an array of string or a list of strings. 0 is the element or the row within the list. Arrays in Java and most other languages are what they call zero-based, which means the first element is referenced by 0. Okay? Now, so this means the first element passed in. In the Java programs, this args array represents the values passed in at the command prompt to the Java program. So let me give you an example of what I mean by that. Okay, so let's compile this again. First, I want to say that this is not a good way to do it because I'm not looking for, I'm not validating that data was put in, so it's not what they call fault tolerant. So if I just run this the same way I ran it again, I'm going to get an error message. Array index out of bounds. That means I tried to reference an element of an array that doesn't exist. So for this to work correctly, I have to actually pass something in. So Bob, I'm passing in to the hello program. When I do that, now it says hello Bob. You can put something else in there. Janet. Hello Janet. If I try to say hello Bob, Janet and Bob, I get just Janet because I'm only asking for the first element. Now, if I know that I'm going to be sending a second element, I could just do a little copy and paste, right? And put 1, which would mean the second value. So this is the first value. This is a single line comments, by the way, // We'll talk about comments in a future lesson. Okay, so now I can compile this again, and I can run it again, and now I'm going to get an error again because I didn't put anything in. If I go hello Bob with just one array element, I get hello Bob, but then I get an exception because I didn't give the second element. So now I have to do both. And now I get hello Janet, hello Bob, but it's kind of ugly they're right next to each other. What you can do is you can modify the print method and use a modified version of it called adding ln to it, which means line, which means it adds a line at the end of it. Let's compile. And there we go. Now, what if I say, okay, oh great. Well, how about Jim? Whoops, no Jim. Now, this gets really ugly if you try and copy and paste everything, and it's not very flexible at all. Because what it's saying is that you have to always be right. You have to have a fixed number of arguments passed in, and some programs require that, but some need to be more flexible. So I'm going to show you the next part of this intro, and this will probably be it, what's known as a for each loop. There's several different types of loops in Java. There's two versions of the for loop. There's more the traditional for loop that it inherited from C that we'll talk about in a later lecture, and there's the new version called the for each, which is a modified version of it. There's also while and do while loops, but this class is not really about loops, so we're not going to talk about that just yet. Now we've got to replace args with name. So let me explain this loop. This is saying string data type, just a string, not an array. That's the name of the variable. The colon is the way of saying in args, which means for each value in the list of args, we're going to do this statement here. Okay? Compile. Let's see, Jim. Now let's see. Boom! Hello, Janet, Bob, and Jim. Got them all. Now we've still got a problem with this thing in that, okay, actually that worked. Let's just try no arguments at all. Nothing happens. So this is basically fault tolerant, now what we would say. Now, because the for loop said there's nothing in there, that's fine, that worked. What if you want to say some message in the event there is a value? So one thing you could do is say if args.length. Length is what's known as a property of it's greater than 0. Go ahead and do all this. Is a property of the array. Length means how many values are in there. Is what it means. How many values are in there. Now, this should be curly brackets. Explain all this, and then we're going to be done for this lecture for the intro. So what this says, if there is one or more values passed in, go ahead and print out each one of them. Say hello to each one of them. Otherwise, we're going to give a generic message. And I'm going to say system.out.print line just hello stranger. Who are you? I don't know who you are. Hello stranger. Okay, so let's just go ahead and give this one a whirl. Compile it. Run it. I still get that. Now if I go with no arguments, hello stranger. Okay. That concludes our intro to Java. There's a lot more to it. I'll be doing an entire lecture series on it, like I said. Subscribe below. Leave your comments. I appreciate it. Including criticism. So if there's anything I can improve, I want to make these videos better. You can also look for me on Facebook, appjedi.net. This YouTube channel. Email me with questions, appjedi.net@gmail.com. Or you can go to the website, appjedi.net. Other than that, look for future lectures. Have a good day.